It's both bad policy and unconstitutional, right? The courts have said you can't put people in jail when they fall behind on a debt. It's been declared unconstitutional for 150 years, and yet Fayette continues to do that to this day.
Alrighty, welcome back. It's Alabama Politics This Week. Josh Moon, David Person, and we are happy now to have with us Micah West, as attorney with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and we're going to talk about garbage for a few minutes. And actually, it's not really correct. We're going to talk about some injustice that has been happening, and this is where the SPLC often comes in historically and even today, kind of covering for folks who are. It's the Southern Poverty Law Center. These are the downtrodden and the folks that they help out the most. And Micah, I guess first of all, welcome. I think this is the first time you've been on with us, right?
That's correct.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, awesome. Man. Thank you for doing it. I guess if you would, just as an explainer to everybody, kind of explain. I know you sent a letter to the folks in Fayette, and kind of explain to folks what's happening there with the garbage service fines that are taking place, and what y'all's role is in this.
Yeah, so we began investigating practices in Fayette a few years ago when a woman was arrested and sentenced to 10 days in jail when she fell behind on a small garbage bill. And we were concerned about that. One, because Alabama is the only state where people are arrested and prosecuted when they fall behind on their garbage bills. And then second, when we were looking into Fayette's own municipal code, we saw that the judge does not have legal authority to put people in jail when they fall behind on their garbage bills. Their own code only authorizes a fine. And so we were very concerned that what the judge was doing was both bad policy, but also unlawful.
Yeah. So I remember writing about this and writing about that poor lady, who was placed in jail. She was an elderly lady. And it, that at that time was, I just remember thinking, my God, what are we doing here? And especially over garbage. If I recall correctly, was there not some promises made back then over this, that they were going to stop doing this, that they were going to stop this practice?
Well, Josh, what I think you're referring to is another city,
a
city called Valley, which had also been arresting people over unpaid garbage. And that happened to an 82-year-old woman in Valley who fell behind $77 on her garbage bill.
Right.
And as you'll remember, that went viral because body cam footage showed police officers putting this 82-year-old woman in jail. Now, the story turned out better in Valley in that ultimately there was a new elected district attorney, and he agreed to stop prosecuting anyone who fell behind on their garbage bills and to dismiss any charges that had been unadjudicated there.
And so the people in Fayette saw those stories and were like, "Hey, that's something we should keep doing." I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Who thinks this is a good idea? I don't understand.
Yeah, it's both bad policy and unconstitutional, right? The courts have said you can't put people in jail when they fall behind on a debt. It's been declared unconstitutional for 150 years. And yet Fayette continues to do that to this day.
So first of all, Micah, how did this policy even come to be? Since it's, as you said, it's unconstitutional, and as Josh has suggested, it's just cruel. How did this even come to be?
That's something you'd have to talk to city officials about. But I agree. I mean, you don't have to be a lawyer to know that this is cruel and insensible. When people fall behind on a bill, they need support. They don't need to be put in jail.
Yeah, maybe I should have framed the question this way. How is it that it has survived? I mean, from a legal standpoint, okay, we understand common sense and just, human decency says we shouldn't be doing this. But legally, how were they able to implement this policy? Do we have any sense of how that happened?
I think in many of these small towns, there's very little scrutiny about what's going on. As we spoke to people in the city of Fayette, the judge was their Boy Scout leader. So it's a small, tight, very tight community, and one that doesn't receive outside scrutiny.
So the SPLC has stepped in here. What can you do, I guess, to eliminate this or to eradicate this policy, to end this policy?
What we've asked the city of Fayette to do is what Valley did and what Chickasaw did when we brought attention to similar practices in those cities. We've asked them to end this policy, to stop prosecuting people and arresting them when they fall behind on their garbage bills, to remit any fines and fees that are owed, and to put in place more sensible policies like payment plans or connecting people to social services when they're struggling to meet their bills. And the other thing that the state could do is amend state statute and make clear that you cannot arrest people when you fall behind on a garbage bill. And we're hopeful that the legislature will do that.
Well, that's where I was going next. So, are you're actively lobbying for that bill? And if you are, have you gotten any takers?
We're exploring with a number of legislators the possibility of a bill that would clarify that you can't arrest people when you fall behind on a garbage bill.
Hey, we know some people. We got some people. If you need some contacts, we'll be happy to push it along for you. I know some folks over there.
But are they? But let me just get an answer, Josh, to the second half of my question. Are there any takers? Is anybody biting on this, or is there resistance?
We're hopeful that a bill will be. We're hopeful that a bill will get introduced this week.
That's not giving me a lot of. I'm not getting a good feeling about that, Micah. That doesn't sound like this is something that people. I mean, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. This should be a civic matter.
It seems like somebody who's running for office in that general area over there would be like, "Hey, my man, I'll take that bill from you." Somebody could be a fight over it.
Yeah, and it also seems to me like some of our gubernatorial candidates, some of our AG candidates, they ought to be advocating for the lieutenant governor candidates. They ought to be advocating for this as well.
This should be a no-brainer, but SPLC has seen cities and counties arresting people for unpaid garbage bills since something like 2012 when it happened in Baldwin County. So it unfortunately doesn't matter the part of the state. Cities and counties across the state are putting people in jail and prosecuting people when they fall behind on their garbage bills. And again, we're unaware of any other state that does this.
Yeah, that's one hell of a commentary. So you've mentioned Baldwin, you've mentioned Chickasaw, I believe, Valley, and Fayette. Are there other cities or municipalities that you know of that are actively participating in whether it be garbage or some other service? Go ahead and answer this first, and then I've got another one. Because are there other municipalities that y'all are investigating or that you know of that are actively involved in something like this?
There are, and stay tuned because we will be doing advocacy there as well.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. How many would you say there are? Are there dozens of these places that are doing this?
I don't know the exact number, but there are a number of cities that are prosecuting people and hauling them into court.
Wow.
Yeah. Is it going to be something that really pisses me off? Is it going to be a number that really, just makes everybody angry to learn how many people are doing this?
Even one city doing this is
Sure.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was
still,
thinking. One is too many.
One is too many, but we already know of four. So, I mean, yeah. All right. So let me ask you this, kind of getting into I don't know necessarily say nuts and bolts of it, but I remember from that Valley case, now that I know it was the Valley case, so my memory's coming back. I'm an old person. But it seemed like one of the other big points of this was the city collecting, throwing people in jail and collecting for a private company. Am I wrong about that?
I think that the way it worked in Valley is that the city would pay a lump sum amount to the private company, and then separately charge individuals a monthly amount for their fees that would recoup some of the money that they would pay to the private company.
Right, but ultimately, this was a private company that was benefiting off of the city's policy of throwing people in jail.
I think the city would have been paid regardless of whether you paid your monthly fee, but the city was trying to recoup the money that it ultimately paid out to the private company.
The city was serving as basically a pass-through for I guess, in means of simplifying it.
And I don't think anybody would begrudge the city from trying to get money it's due, but that's such a draconian way to do it. And we're talking about, I'm sure we're talking about poor people on fixed limited incomes,
of course.
Right?
That's correct, right? So we represented someone in Chickasaw who had disability. He had been in a car accident and lost one of his legs. We represented single women with children. And, not only did the city haul her into court, but they took her trash can. And I think this is something important to talk about as well. But when you suspend someone's garbage services, it can render a home uninhabitable because trash brings disease, and disease makes people sick. And when you have young children, and a house can become infested with rats. And when you have young children and you suspend someone's garbage services, you can't live in that house anymore because you become terrified that the rats are going to bite your kids. And so the woman we represented ultimately just left her house. It became like a constructive eviction.
Jeez. Yeah, the other thing here is, I don't know if anybody has mentioned, but if you don't have the money to pay when you're not in jail, you're probably not going to get it while you're in jail. I mean, it just, the whole thing seems so counterproductive. When it seems as though there would be a better option for the city. And look, I get there are some people that I mean, a minuscule number of people that game the system here on some of this stuff. I get that. Okay. That there were probably a handful of folks that didn't pay their garbage bills and left or whatever it was. But on the whole, they're people like you're talking about. They're people who have fallen behind. Life has happened to them, and now they've had to make decisions on what to do. And I remember the 82-year-old lady in Valley. That was her situation. This had been an ongoing thing between her and the city for a while, and they had come out and talked about it and tried to figure things out or whatever, and basically threatened her several times, and then put her in handcuffs and took her to jail. And I don't understand. Let me ask you this. What do other cities that don't do this, what do they do? Great question.
Yeah, a lot of cities, for example, like Montgomery, does not arrest you if you fall behind on your garbage bill.
Right.
The state law allows for counties to pass an exemption if you live at 75% or below of the poverty guidelines. Lee County last year passed that exemption. So you're exempted from paying your garbage bills if you live 75% or less of the poverty guidelines.
Right.
Other places connect you to nonprofits like Community Action if you're struggling to pay your bill. There's a series of sensible policies that cities could put in place. Could contact sanitation, let them know that you need to be put on a payment plan or that you've lost your job and they can work with you. The first resort does not need to be threatening someone with prosecution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. What response, if any, have you received from the city of Fayette? Have they responded? Has the city attorney talked to you all? Is there any movement at all?
The city has not acknowledged the letter or reached out.
Yeah, they probably threw it in the garbage.
We're hopeful that they will.
Yeah. That's also disappointing. Not surprising, but disappointing. So if they continue to not respond, what's the next step here?
We'll ask them to respond by early next month, and we're hopeful that they will, and that they'll do what Valley and what Chickasaw did, which is stop these practices, and we'll figure out our next steps if they don't.
Okay.
Hey, Micah, is there anybody currently in jail right now, due to this situation?
Not to my knowledge in the city of Fayette. That doesn't mean
Okay.
someone is not in jail in another part of the state, but I'm unaware.
Okay.
Let me ask you this too before we let you get out of here. If people know of this practice in other places, I'm assuming y'all would want to know about it, and I'm assuming y'all would want to help. Who do they need to get in touch with at the SPLC to talk to somebody about this thing maybe happening in their town, or maybe it's happened to them?
Yeah, please contact us. They can contact me, and I would be happy to look into what's happening. We are concerned that what is happening in Fayette is not isolated, but part of a pattern and practice in the state of Alabama that we are committed to addressing.
All right. Well, listen,
Great.
Micah, man, we appreciate you. We appreciate the work that y'all are doing. It's really important work all the way up and down, and a lot of people depend on you to keep this sort of
It's
work
righteous,
up.
man. This is righteous work.
It is. I mean, this is ruining somebody's life. I mean, it really a lot of people's lives apparently, and this is good work. We really do appreciate
predatory,
you.
man. It's predatory what they're doing, man.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. But thank you, Micah, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Micah.
Thank you so much.
brother.
Thank you for having me.
All right,
All
thank you.
right.
That is Micah West with the SPLC. Y'all support them. They do fantastic
Please.
work like this all the time. We're going to slide out. We'll come back and wrap this thing.
One of the most important organizations
Oh,
in the
yeah.
state.
Absolutely.
One of the most. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. It
Yeah.
is, and has been
Yeah.
for decades now.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
all right, let's slide out. We'll come back and wrap this thing up in just a minute. It's Alabama Politics This Week. We're back in a moment.